welcome to episode 2 of Knit Notes. My name is Andrea, and thanks for coming back if you saw episode 1. If this is your first episode that you've seen, this is basically Knit Notes. I take my notes that I wrote while I was knitting, and I talk through the project that I made and what it was and everything I used, problems I may have had knitting it, different things that were helpful to me while I did it. And so this second episode is about the Wisteria Tank by Joan Ho. So I will go ahead and talk about that. So if you notice me looking down, I am looking at those notes just to reference everything I was doing. So I cast the Wisteria Tank on May 31st, 2026 and finished it June 9th, 2026. I did make a gauge swatch for it, and the gauge was 20 stitches by 28 rounds in 2x2 ribbing. And so here is my gauge swatch. I love this color, it's so pretty. And I did make gauge with the suggested needles. I used Prim US 6, so 4mm, 32-inch circulars. And also, what were they were Prim US 4, 3.5mm, 16-inch circulars. I was trying to remember what I used. Oh, the I-cord is what the 4mm circulars were for. I used Sewrella Yarn Classic DK, which is 100% superwash merino in the from the Disneyland Collection California Adventure, and it looks like this. I'm trying to get it in the sunlight so you can see what that looks like. It's a really pretty yarn, and I used 378.8 yards to make the small size of the Wisteria Tank for myself. So I'm excited because I have some left. I can make like a scrunchie or something like that. That's what I tend to do with my leftover yarn, is make scrunchies because I love them. I think they're such a fun little project to make, and so I'm really excited about that I have some left to do that with. And like I said, I did knit the size small. My measurements for the negative ease of the garment would have put me in size medium, but I knew that it was super wash, and with the experience I had with my first Tulsa tank, I wanted to make sure that I could wear it, and this time I erred on the size of it being too small versus it being too large, and that will definitely come into play when we talk about it later. The post block measurements of the garment, the body circumference was 27 inches. It was supposed to be 32. The armhole depth was 9 inches, supposed to be 8, and the garment length ended up being 21 inches, which was supposed to be 17, but I'm gonna go ahead and go grab it and then show it to you. So this is my Wisteria Tank. I'm so proud of myself with this. I am really happy with the new techniques that I learned, how to make it and everything like that. And there were a couple things that I did a little bit different than what the pattern said to do, but mostly I ended up doing exactly what was in the pattern. One of the things I did differently was in the pattern instructions for the I-cord, it was supposed to be done on the right side, and I was following a YouTube tutorial from, Snuffle Bean Yarn, how to knit an applied I-cord edge, because this is my first time doing any applied I-cord. And so I followed that tutorial on YouTube instead of kind of following the instructions, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. The I-cord edge on both the neck and the armholes, so I was really pleased with how that came out, it being my first time doing like an applied I-cord edge. One of the things that for me turned out to be a little bit of an issue is it's much shorter than it looks on the pictures of the pattern. So if I did knit this again, I would probably knit it longer, probably for myself. I can wear it. If I can, I'll put some pictures or a video in here of myself wearing this tank. But a couple of things could have done different. I would definitely, because it's knit from bottom up, next time I want to make sure I had enough yarn, so I did not make it longer, but I probably, now knowing how much yarn I used, I would probably knit it longer before I split for the front and back, just to have it maybe 3 or 4 inches longer is something that I would like. There were no instructions in the pattern for the ribbed horizontal invisible seam, which was used to do the shoulder seams. So basically you knit the front and back and then you seam the shoulders together. And so I had to look, I was trying to find instructions for how to do that on YouTube, and it was either like, oh, this is how you do it in stockinette stitch, or this is how you do it in garter stitch or something. But this is ribbed, so it was a little bit more difficult for me to, so it's not necessarily invisible, my seam here. I'm not unhappy with it. You can't see it, like you don't, you know, pay attention to it. And I don't think anybody's gonna come up to my thing and be like, oh, look at your not invisible, you know, horizontal seam on your tank top. So I'm not that worried about it. I think it looks fine for what it is. It is a little bit like wider right here. These come out a little bit more probably than I intended them to, just because of that seaming technique I used. But I did use the How to Knit Horizontal Invisible Seam by Wool and the Gang on YouTube tutorial. And I have a playlist of all of these tutorials in on my channel. So it's basically helpful tutorials that I have used in case you're new to knitting like me and you need maybe a tutorial to see how to do something. I started a playlist, and each one of these I put into that. So if you're looking for that, you can look at that playlist and see what tutorials I used to make this top. And so one of the other things I did, I'd seen some plain kind of like just easy ways to join yarn in a project, and I wanted to know a couple other ways to try and learn. So I used the How to Join Yarn in Knitting from Easy to Invisible, my Nimble Needle. So it was 10 different yarn joining techniques. And so I tried to do that whenever I was joining new yarn, so it would be more of an invisible, you know, place where you couldn't really tell where I did it. As before, it always seemed a little bit loose or something. So I did it like a twist way that was in there. So that was that. And I think those are some of the things. So the only things I would really do differently with this, like I said, I would knit it a few inches before splitting for the front and back. But I really enjoyed knitting this pattern. It was very beginner friendly to me at my skill level. Like I said in the previous video, I've only been knitting, I started learning to knit March 28th. I had no previous knitting experience. So I literally started with learn how to cast on. I did tons and tons of knit stitches, and then I learned how to purl, so tons and tons of purl stitches. And so then each time I try and make something, I try to add in at least one new skill so I can learn and get better and progress over time. And so the skills I learned on this one was that horizontal invisible seam and the applied I-cord edge. So that made me really happy about that. So I think that is going to be all for the tank, and we're going to talk about the next thing that I plan to knit now that this one is finished. I do not have a gauge swatch just yet, but I did just get the yarn for my second Tulsa tank. So this time I have not frogged the other one yet. It's still over there hanging, but I am going to be doing that. But I am going to make another square neck Tulsa tank, and this time I'm going to make it 4-ply, or in that size, instead of the DK weight that I made the first time. And I'm going to use Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I have never used that yarn before, so I'm looking forward to trying it. So that is going to be the next thing I'm going to make a gauge swatch for. The only thing I'm trying to decide is what color I want to use. So I have 2 different colors. I think I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go with Pea Shoots, which is this green color here. It's a little bit washed out kind of in the sun, but it's a really pretty green color that I like. And then the other, which I think I'm gonna say for another project, is French Anemone. So it's like a purple, like a darker kind of purple color. I really like this one as well. I think there's another top that I might want to save this one for, but I bought 3 balls of Knitting for Olive pure silk in pea shoots to go ahead and make the next version of my Tulsa tank. So probably the next episode of Knit Notes is going to be about my second attempt to make a Tulsa tank that fits me better than the first one did. So I'm looking really forward to that. I'm gonna go ahead and probably make the gauge swatch for this today, this afternoon, and get that ready to go so I can start that project. So I'm not sure how long it will take me since it's smaller yarn. It will be my very first thing I've ever done in like a light fingering weight of yarn. The only things I've done previously are DK or higher. So DK worsted like a bulky, made the blanket out of bulky. So we're gonna see how that goes, and I really appreciate you guys watching the video. I'm actually really surprised at how many views the first one got. It already has like 50 views, and I just posted it on Sunday in my very first video on the channel. So hopefully that is helping somebody maybe making a Tulsa tank of their own, and then maybe now the Wisteria tank, if someone decides to make that, this video will be a little bit helpful to them. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you next Knit Note episode. It will probably be Tulsa Tank version 2, the square neck in the Knitting for Olive pure silk. So thanks for watching, and have a good day.